We're on to day 14 of the solo house flipping series, and today Django is staying home with his cow and getting some more rest and recovery. But I am headed off to the flip house, and it is smoky again. That Canadian wildfire smoke is in our area, and it is bad. But that's not going to stop me from going. I'm going to pick off right where I left off in this bedroom, getting this drywall up on the ceiling. Something I like to do when I'm doing drywall on a ceiling is I like to mark out all the areas where I'm going to be screwing to, and then I will draw a line and pre-start some of the screws at those locations. That way, when I'm holding it up in the air, I'm not fumbling with any screws. I can just get it screwed up so I'm not lifting it above my head anymore. I'm going to do a quick step-by-step of how I like to do my sheets. First, I'm going to measure to make sure I'm landing on my 4 foot, and then I'm going to be cutting it to height. Next, I'm going to be marking every spot where I have a stud. So I'm going to be measuring and snapping that chalk line, and then I need to figure out where that outlet is, and I'm going to be measuring from the ceiling because that is where I'm going to be pushing the drywall tight to. And I'm using one of these drywall T-squares that are super handy when doing drywall. So I'm going to get that sheet in position, I'm going to push it tight to the ceiling and also to the wall to the left and get it screwed, and then we're going to be looking good. Something important when doing drywall is you want your joints as tight as possible. The smaller the gap, the better. It's just much easier to tape and mud it when those gaps are small. Now I'm going to start working the drywall around these windows in the bedroom. It's always surprising to me how time consuming this is. And I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to trim out and finish these windows, but I got a couple ideas to work with. When I'm doing drywall, I'm always doing my best at material management, meaning I'm always trying to use scraps at the best locations they can possibly be. I don't want much waste because it's heavy and it's hard to get rid of, and also I don't want to have to go buy more drywall if I don't need to. It's just a huge task to get that stuff downstairs and ready to go. I have used up all of those full drywall sheets that I have, so I'm going to get this place cleaned up. I'm going to organize some of my scraps with the bigger pieces that can be used in the future, and the smaller pieces I'm just going to get rid of. Now I got to get this place swept up and vacuumed. It's just much easier to work in a clean environment, and I also don't want any of those bits and pieces of drywall getting in my drywall mud. It is finally time to do some mudding. I like to cut my mud with just a little bit of water. Not too much because you don't want it too soupy, but it's also hard to work with it right out of the pail. I typically like to use the pre-mixed stuff. That's just the way I was taught, so that's what I use. So I'm going to get going by taping all my seams and then spotting all those screw heads. When it comes to drywall finishing, it is not the most DIY friendly thing. It's not something like painting where anyone can just pick up a paint roller and start getting paint on the walls. It is definitely a skilled labor, and I have a lot of respect for people who do this full time. My skills are pretty good, but I'm definitely not a professional at it. I mean, I can get the job done, and it might take me a little bit more coats and some more sanding, but the finished product is always pretty good for me. Something I'll always carry with me when I'm doing some drywall finishing is a screwdriver. I'm pretty good at setting all my drywall screws so that they're not protruding out, but sometimes you just need to take a screwdriver and turn it half to a quarter of a turn to get that head sitting behind that paper, so it's much easier to finish. The last thing you want is for a screw head to be popping out through your finished wall. For this first coat of mud, I'm not trying to get a huge amount of mud on the walls. I'm just trying to get everything covered and get those beveled seams filled in. That way, when I come through with my next coat, I can start feathering out my joints. And that's going to be a wrap for day 14. And it was another successful day at the flip. But I'm going to get home because I missed my guy Django, and he gave me a warm welcome when I arrived.